All right, today we are gabbing with Taria Faison, host of the What Else Is Going On podcast. I love chatting with Taria, and she's just one of the best. Has the best. Watching her smile right now. It's just so fun to chat with her. I'm so happy to have you back. How are you?
I am good. Thank you for having me. I love chatting with you as well. And I told Gibson I wore this shirt because I love him. So I was like, so I changed real quick. I had on a sweatshirt. I was like, not good enough. Let me put on my good
No,
sweat.
it's stunning. I love it. I'm feeling the love today. And, it's cold on the East Coast this week, so
Yes.
we need to feel that warmth from
Yeah.
inside.
Make sure you stock up because we're supposed to get, well, you're in
A
New York,
lot.
I know, but we're
Yeah, but
supposed
we're
to get a
supposed to
lot
get
too.
snow in DC area. I know it's supposed to get a lot of snow. So
Yeah.
yeah, it's a
Maryland
lot.
weather is tricky. Somebody on TikTok said, guys, so be prepared. We're either going to get 0% or 40,000 feet. So just be
Right,
prepared for
exactly.
whatever.
Yeah, I remember growing up and it was like you check the NBC4 website and it was like for the snow days and it was so overnight they'd say it would be 10 inches, we'd have a dusting and then they'd still cancel school. So,
Yeah.
you know what?
I have two kids that are almost done college. Well, one is done, one is graduating this year. And I remember those days years ago. It'd be
Uh-huh.
like there's nothing on the ground. But
Hmm.
yeah.
Yeah. So we said you are in Maryland. You
Yeah.
are some boots on the ground, if you will, for this Wendy legal situation. You've been to at least one hearing. I know that yesterday there
Yeah.
was supposed to be one, didn't
Yeah.
end up happening. Tell me
No.
about that and what that's been like, and also what happened from your experience yesterday.
Okay. It's so crazy. So I've been to, and when I went through her thing, she was originally supposed to have one. They canceled it. Let's go back just really quick. Remember, they were
Yeah.
co-defendants. Then they filed to not be co-defendants anymore.
Hmm.
The first hearing I went to, it was all about Wendy, right? She didn't do talking. Of course, it was her lawyer. The second hearing that I went to, it was about Eddie and Wendy because the lawyers they were using were from the same firm. They wanted, and remember, they filed paperwork to be co-defendants again.
Hmm.
Then they were during the last motion hearing or whatever it's status hearing. They were going to be discussing this hearing whether or not they were actually going to be co-defendants because the judge approved it before, but now they were discussing it. So it was supposed to be yesterday at 1 o'clock. I left my house at 5 a.m. I checked really quickly. Yep, court is still on at around 11:45. Shout out to my girl Pam. She called me and said, "Girl is canceled," and I was like, "What?" Because she was meeting me there, and I was like, "What?" Like, and I have a feeling when we went to court last time, it to me it seems like they file motions late in the day
Mm.
and then the information doesn't get to the next person until that afternoon because that happened when I was in court with them last time. When I was looking through all the filings, one of the things said automatic discovery. And so when I was looking it up, I guess the prosecution had given their discovery to the defense. So maybe that's why they postponed. But I was telling Gib, I have a feeling deep in my bones. I feel like they're going to try to do a plea unless they have a Hail Mary. And I'm sure you're like me. I keep thinking this could all be a mistake. Like the prosecution could have made a mistake, but I keep going back to Eddie's voice being on recording saying her ring was stolen
Mm.
and getting a check from it. And I'm like,
Mm.
and it was hard sitting in that courtroom
Yeah.
listening to the defense. I was like, oh, they got it. When I heard the prosecution, I was like, oh, they
Yeah.
might have it.
Yeah. It's one of those things where it just feels like as much as we love Wendy and Eddie, it just feels like there are just these couple like almost undeniable pieces of evidence, and like I always come back to the email that he wrote to Wendy,
Yes.
like asking if there's anything else they could list. And I think there's been a lot of like sort of superfluous stuff that doesn't actually,
Yeah.
contribute to it. But I kind of think you're right too in sort of it being headed for some sort of plea deal.
Yeah.
And that way also they can work out like so that kind of like with Teresa and Joe probably where it was like you don't want both parents to be absent for the kids. And
Yeah.
because it was interesting when I feel like when they separated Eddie and Wendy's cases and like
Hmm.
in that one time, if I think some people read that as like, oh, are they trying to have like Eddie take all
That's what
the
yeah,
full hit, and then Wendy gets to sort of stay home or whatever it is.
yeah,
But so I don't know. I'm not a legal expert. I don't know how all this
same.
necessarily works, the ins and outs. But it just does feel like something's gonna happen. They're gonna be punished in some way. Probably it kind of feels like that, and I just don't know what that looks like. And it's kind
It,
of a
it's
it's a
such a
daunting thing.
and it's a scary thing. I literally, no lie, the last couple times I've gone, I've like, it may sound in this world that we live in, like we live in dichotomies, we live in hypocrisy sometimes. We can
Yes.
feel this two different ways about the same thing.
Yeah. Multiple things can be true at once.
Yes. And I understand insurance. I also don't want them to go to jail. And I feel like as you get older, you can understand if sometimes people get into things, they make the most crazy decisions. But at the same time, it's like, but this, like, and people are saying they weren't thinking about their kids. And in my mind, I'm thinking, I think they thought they were thinking about their kids. Like, if I get this money, if I do this. But then we watched the show, and you probably know the timeline better than I. I was wondering, when did they film last season? Because in my mind, I'm thinking, were they spending all that money thinking they were going to recoup it back through the insurance, and then that fell through? Or is Happy Eddie doing as good as they say and they just wanted extra money?
It's so hard to tell. It is so hard to
Isn't it
tell.
hard?
It really is. Yeah. I mean, I think that it probably was in the back of their mind because, especially because they have said we didn't hear from any sort of investigators or anything for a full year, which is not abnormal. I've asked people about that,
Okay.
but I think in their mind they probably thought, all right, like the claim
Yeah.
is going through or whatever.
Yeah, because
Uh,
they're not hearing denials. They're not
right.
hearing. So they're probably every time they check the status, it's pending or what
And
have you.
it's like, obviously Wendy's storyline this season, she has multiple, but one of them is redoing her home. And so because of that, there was always going to be some talk of money, but also
Yes.
the editors have clearly added back in a bunch of moments that probably
Yes.
would have been left on the cutting room floor had this not been happening outside of
Yep.
the show. So that just sort of adds fuel to the fire. It
Yes.
adds to the feeling that like where there is smoke, there's fire. And the editors know how to do that. But
Yeah. It's
gosh, there was a lot of talk about money.
a lot. And I had my little lapel mic charged up
There we go.
because the first time there was no one out there to see her. The second time there was ABC News. They asked questions. So I was going to ask her lawyer his thoughts about her being on the reality show. Do they think whether it will hurt or help a case? And then I wanted to ask Wendy at BravoCon. She said she felt the support from her fans.
Hmm.
Well, with them filming the reunion, did she feel that same support? Because Kempire spilled some tea. He got tea that the reunion was so emotional for her and she kept crying.
Hmm.
So I wanted to know, did you feel the support of your castmates?
And uh, and it's this hard thing because I am glad she went to the reunion.
Yes.
I was curious if that was going to happen or not, but I am also already sort of preemptively frustrated that she's probably going to get on that couch and be like, I can't talk about this as an ongoing legal matter, which you know on surface level, of course, that makes sense.
Yes.
That sort of, but this is a huge thing happening around this show, and so if she's not going to talk about it, I sure as hell hope the other women talk about it, and
Yes.
I do hope it's in like not like a I hope it's in a fair way, of course,
Yes.
but like it needs to be discussed a lot.
Yes.
It's a huge deal. And so it might be a weird thing where they're talking about this whole situation that Wendy and Eddie are part of, and Wendy can't really weigh in besides what essentially she said at BravoCon.
Yeah. And it's almost like, and I hate to say this, but if Mia, well, I don't hate to say it. If Mia was on the cast and this came out about Mia,
Right.
people would be like, I'm not surprised. But
Yeah.
with Wendy, she has to know everyone's like, oh my gosh.
Yeah. Hmm. Oh man.
Yeah.
Taria.
It's a,
Yeah.
I do. One last thing I will say is being in that environment with them, watching her body language, because I pay attention to
Yeah.
all of that. She very much was looking around to see if the people were there The first time she was looking, she kept looking back. And then this time, I know she recognized us. She kept looking back. And then at one point, she looked back so much that I looked up and I went, and she goes, and turns around like she's very much looking. And I'm going to send you this video. ABC News was interviewing her lawyer.
Mm-hmm.
Wendy is like vamping to us because we're standing behind them. And I wonder if she is realizing how serious this is, because and maybe that's her defense. That's her, how
Yeah.
she deals with things. Because I see that on the show a lot. Her defense, she has a wall up.
Sure.
But Eddie looked visibly like, not like shaking, but you could look in his face and see like, oh no. But Wendy was very, very much giving.
So you think that she wanted,
Yes.
Bravo fans to be there and stuff like that.
Yes.
And
Yes.
I mean, that tracks. And I think
Yes.
like even, and this doesn't really say much, and they can wear whatever they want, but like they're also wearing like furs draped over their shoulders. And like, it's like very, that's like what, and she's a celebrity. So, but it's like, that's like how like celebrities dress for court. And it's just like very like showman, like
Yes.
very like spectacle. And,
That's what it, yeah. And in light of financial crimes, and it has to do with
right.
things,
The
clothing.
the optics are, it's so obvious. It's so
Yes.
clear. Just like just dress very
Just
plainly. Wear all black,
yes.
you
That's
know?
one thing about Karen Huger. I will say
Mhm.
when I went to her trial, you could tell it was expensive, but it was understated. A black suit, hair put
Stealth
together,
wealth.
heels. Yes, yes, yes. Wendy is, I mean, to the point where when she both times when she went to the front to stand at her table, she gets up. I saw the slither in person.
Mm.
And then both times she takes her hand, puts it in her pocket, and positions herself.
Oh, we're giving angles.
Yes,
Okay.
yes,
Okay.
yes. Me and shout out to Chantel and Pam, paging Dr. Pam on YouTube. That we were like,
Wow.
you could
How
literally
fascinating.
see it. Yes.
I
So
think
to
it just,
see,
yeah, it shows you how much that, I mean, she's been on the show for what, 5 or 6 years, this
five or
six
six
years.
years, yeah,
It shows you how much that seeps in. And I think that that speaks to like, I mean, again, it just feels like such a layup to not act that way when you're in court. And I just don't, I think maybe there's a loss of true like awareness of how she's coming
yeah.
across. And
Hmm.
what, I don't know. That's shocking to hear some of that stuff,
Yeah,
honestly.
and I think when you have the prosecution, which I do believe now, I'll say this, and I said we're going to move, I'll
It's all right. No,
move on.
you're there.
But I'll say this, I do agree. The defense's argument is that the prosecution is trying to play this out in public opinion. I definitely agree.
Yeah, I
But I
think so too.
also, yeah, we have things to play out in the court of public
Exactly.
opinion.
Exactly.
And
It can go both ways.
yes, but when dressing like that, I get it. We're not saying she should go in
Hmm.
rags, but then you have the prosecution mentioning literally saying the number, your $8,000 bag. It's like, that's what you're giving when you
Yeah.
come in.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. Oh my
And
gosh.
Miss Susan has not been there. So the first time it was a day, I think they had a snow day, I think, or something like that, where kids were home. The second time weren't. So I wonder if
Okay.
she's telling someone not to come. And they're not coming in with an entourage. It's just their
Hmm.
people. But it's still very shocking. And you've seen her in person. I'll say, for those
Yeah.
of you that haven't, Wendy is striking.
She's a
Her,
beautiful woman. Hmm.
yes, yeah. Her eyes really
Yes.
captivated me. Something about her eyes.
Yeah.
So
Wow.
So in March, hopefully I'll have something to report back to you.
Okay.
It's
All
scheduled
right.
for March.
The waiting game continues, and Taria's going to be on the boots on the ground. To follow her WEIGO podcast because that's where you post your first updates, and I'm always locked in when you're there. Um, the last thing before we get to this week's Potomac, you posted the receipts of Robin and Giselle talking about, or they were all, it's unreasonably shady, and
Yeah.
the topic of K Michelle joining Atlanta comes up, and sort of reality stars going on other reality shows, and you posted that because Watch What Happens Live on Sunday, which I thought was a fantastic episode because I always love when there's like a little bit of tension between the
Yes.
two guests, and it's not like super. It doesn't feel like super heated or anything, but there's
Yeah.
something there between Quad and Giselle. You can tell because
Hmm.
Quad kept being like, but now
going.
wait a second. Yeah, exactly. And she finally really got her full moment when she was like, no, I have to ask you about this, Giselle. You and my sorority sister, Robin, you're talking about how, Married to Medicine is recycling the girls. And Giselle's like, I didn't say that. Robin said that. We were talking about Atlanta, not Married to Medicine. But in your receipt, we see that Giselle is the one that did say that. Robin was catching strays from her podcast
Yes.
co-host. Quick, like 2 cents on that little
I
change.
had someone trying to argue me down. I was going to post the full thing, but it was kind of long. I watched it numerous times to make sure I didn't post something that was leaving some context out. You know how it
Yeah.
is. And someone argued me down. It's you're running with clickbait. Quad specifically addressed Giselle on saying recycling.
Mm-hmm.
Giselle says she didn't say it. Before that, Robin does bring up Atlanta and K. Michelle. Then she goes into Married to Medicine, specifically talks about Angel, and she says she knows her from Basketball Wives. Angel was filming her confessional. Giselle, who must not have been paying attention, asks, is Married to Medicine filming now? Robin had just said Angel filmed her confessional. So Giselle says, is Married to Medicine filming now? So they were very much talking about Married to Medicine. Even if Giselle meant as a whole,
Right.
Atlanta is recycling, you're still talking about Married to Medicine. So there was no context missing from the clip. And I would believe anyone but Giselle at this point because either whether it's on purpose or not, she does get things mixed up. I always bring this up. There was a Bravo podcast. I know you probably listened and knew what it was called, and I can't remember. I think the host's name was Eric at one point, and there was a woman
Okay.
that was with him. It was called Bravo. Oh my God, all the housewives used to go there. I know you know it. And it's going to bother me, and I'm going to think about it, and then I'm going to send you
Okay.
the name.
If
But
you
it was a
think
Bravo.
about it, if it pops into your head, we'll
Okay.
mention it.
And they had a Potomac producer on, and he was talking about the different ladies. Who would you go to a bar with? Who would you smoke a cigar with? Da, da, da. Who's fun? Who's not? He said Giselle was fun, but Giselle always gets things wrong. She'll call me and say, "Guess what? This is what I heard." Da, 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 da. And he said he would go, Giselle, that's actually not right. And she would go, oh, okay, bye. And then just move on. Isn't that sound like Giselle, right?
Yeah, it does.
So
It does.
I was glad that Quad clocked her. And the thing is, I used to listen to their podcast, but I remember seeing that full clip
Me
circulate. And I
too.
was like, oh, I got to go find it because it was Giselle that said it.
Yeah, I remember them talking about it initially, and it was clearly that had been sitting with Quad, which I
Yeah.
think is really funny.
That isn't that interesting? Did you
Yeah.
clock Quad shade when she said that was my best? We're not the same, and she said you don't even look alike or something, and I was like, whoa,
Yeah.
yes, Miss
Yeah.
Quad, Miss Quad.
Quad is a top tier Watch What Happens Live guest. She almost always delivers something good on that show.
Yes,
Yes.
Quad talks in memes and gifs, and it's
Yes.
so funny. Like,
Or like they played a game on Watch What Happens Live with her that was like her like kind of trying to talk Heavenly out of like certain things as her campaign manager or something. Because Quad does have, she's not the one running, but she has sort of this politician way of speaking sometimes where she kind of says a whole lot of nothing when she says a lot
yes,
of words but not that much, and it's a skill. I think it's a total skill, but it's yeah, it's just so funny. She
she
cracks me
could be
up.
the politician, like you said, and what because she it's like middle road, like you said, she's saying a lot and not saying nothing, and your supporters are going to be like, yes,
Exactly. It sounds
yes,
inspiring. It sounds almost like she's preaching. Exactly.
yes. Do you
Yeah.
remember that scene of her? Was it 2 seasons ago? And she's in that bedroom, and she's because they were questioning her money, and she's going on and on, and I was like, Martin Luther Quad, she is going on and on and
Martin Luther
on.
Quad is really funny. Oh my
Yes,
gosh.
yes.
That is good.
And I
Oh my
did this
God.
by myself.
Yes,
This is
yes, she
my
gets into
life.
that voice. Exactly. A lot of gravitas. Yep.
Yes.
Uh-huh. All right, we'll get to Married to Medicine
Okay.
later, but Potomac, um, I guess we haven't spoken live in a while on this
Mhm.
Colorado trip. I mean, let me just say, I'm enjoying myself as a TV viewer. I think it's been funny television. I know that a
Yeah.
lot of people feel really sort of intense about it, and I don't want to dismiss that. How are you feeling about this Colorado trip, Angel? you know, because we start off this episode basically with this private jet blow up between her and Giselle,
Yes.
which is over the trip and the planning in the house. Give me your how you're coming in.
I like how you acknowledge the intensity that people feel, but I also have to say thank you for bringing levity to it
Mm-hmm.
because sometimes I will be feeling very intense and then you'll do this random tweet or this quote, but that's very much like
Yeah.
perspective.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
Okay.
so I
Good. I'm glad that
appreciate that.
helps.
I
Good.
definitely, I'll be like,
Okay.
he did it again.
Oh
Okay. Yeah.
God.
Okay. In a good way, though. Like, oh,
Okay.
he's making me think again in a good way. So, because you bring back, remember, with Housewives, this is our da, 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 da. And I
Right.
was like,
Right.
yes, he's
It's a
bringing
show.
levity. Yes, you're bringing levity back. So I appreciate you. And I
Okay.
thank
Good.
you for continuing to do it because sometimes I have to go, come back, come
I
back.
mean, listen, we all get in the weeds. We all get
Yes.
like sucked into stuff.
Yes.
Because like for me, I think that like, you know, it's no secret, and Monique even acknowledged this on the show, which is I think the first time we were able to acknowledge this on Housewives, which is that producers plan most of the
Yes.
trip. The quote unquote host can contribute sort of as much or as little as they want to, and they
Hmm.
can give ideas. And she made sure when she hosted that she gave ideas. Um, and so there's this weird thing where it's like we know the production is doing a lot of this,
Hmm.
but they can't like parse out like Angel did this, production did this, whatever. And I think a lot,
Yes.
and I do think a lot of it can be blamed on production, but I don't think all of. At a certain point, it can't all be blamed on production. Is my
Yes,
thing, you
some of
know?
it is still your
Like
responsibility.
production definitely booked that house. You know, like
Yes,
that was definitely them. But I think that like even though the host is more of like a let's
a
like
figurehead kind of.
yeah figurehead title, an honorary title, it there is a certain artifice that you have to hold up on the show. And so like as host, I do like essentially it can be used against you really
Yes,
easily, you
yes.
know? And so I think that again, Angel's new, so she doesn't necessarily know this and nobody's been holding her hand through this whole experience. But there are things that she should have done and could have done to lessen the
Hmm.
blow on her, and to let the other women not feel as left out at sea, if you will. Yeah.
And that she wanted to be with them even if she didn't, because at the end of the day,
Yes.
this is your job. Kiarna was on Candace's
I saw
podcast,
a clip of that.
and she didn't fully
What'd she
say
say?
yes, but she talked around it. Kay pretty much the Michael, Candace's co-host, asked her, "Can we just get this out of the way? Like we know they're going hard on Angel, but production booked this and that and the third." And he was like, "You don't have to answer." And then Candace kind of stepped in for her, but it was made very much known that wasn't on Angel, that was on production. With that being said, this is one of those things where I feel two ways. I think
Mm-hmm.
about myself as a woman. I'm a woman of a particular age, and although I'm not dealing with the peri, well, I might be in denial about that, but or the menopause. This is important. Being in a 90-degree house, and you have women of a particular age in that house,
Mm,
and now they could be dealing with flashes, and I can't even open a window because I'm scared a bear's gonna come. You know what I mean? Like just even
mm.
things like that. Being a woman, some of those women are dealing with Mother Nature, and I can't wash myself.
Yeah.
I
Bad.
sweat sometimes just outside of a peri or anything. I'm a heavy sweater. So if we're outside doing activities, I'm probably going to sweat. If we've been traveling all day, I'm probably going to sweat. And I can't take a shower. I would be livid. I saw on the after show, they said they couldn't flush the toilet. So they had to
That's
use
disgusting. I'm
yes.
sorry. That's just
Yeah.
gross. That's like
Yes.
filthy. Yeah.
Yes. So imagine, which makes sense. Do you remember when Stacy went upstairs to wash her hands and she called for them and
Ashley.
Ashley and Monique, and she said, "Oh, I smelled that sewage smell too." I thought, and then Monique said, "Oh, I thought Giselle took a dump." So flashed back to Monique said it like you could barely hear it, but
Yeah.
you catch it, and I was like, all of those elements combined, and I'm
Mm-hmm.
having to take a whole bath. Is that okay for me to say?
Yeah.
A
Yeah.
whole bath.
Yeah. It's not
And
good.
it's not, and not only that, why are you, she says to us, Angel, when she's in the car with Tia and Kay, I called Jazzy, but then we see text messages. So I'm like, did she
Mm-hmm.
call and production had to show us something, or did she text? Why is it just Jazzy? Why are you not in your housewives group chat that we know you have
Right.
and texting everybody saying, guys, you guys know that I would have said, you guys know I sent an electrician out last
Yeah,
night.
exactly. Hey, I called the owner. Hey, this, that, and the other.
How
Exactly.
are y'all this morning?
She,
What are y'all up to this morning? Just to go on about your day. But see, I think Angel thought production, I think she thought, oh, production will take care of it. They're not supposed to be there. So technically, this is
yeah,
your trip. Production is not
right.
a part of
And
this.
also it's like you can say like production not you could I guess you could argue production not informing the other women, hey, Angel's checked in. Oh, they're setting up Angel to fail. I just don't fully buy that point of view. And I think part of it is sort of how I've come into this trip thinking about Angel and like this whole again, she has this beautiful, amazing house in Colorado. And she said on Watch What Happens Live that she has had at that point already rented another house in Maryland because that's how she was at Monique's event after the whole thing had gone down. Her husband and their kids could have stayed at that house in Maryland. Like I don't know why they're in Colorado with her essentially. Like this is a girls trip. This is your job as you said. And the other women are taking umbrage with her being like, "Oh, I have to get back to my baby." And yeah, I understand she's breastfeeding, but like it's just impractical to have the husband and the kids there as sort of this out and these people who are taking up space in your house like because ultimately if they weren't there the other women could have come crash at Angel's house for
Yes.
a night with the running water and with they might have had to sleep on a couch or another whatever a pull-out bed or whatever it is for a night and then gone to the Four Seasons, but instead they're stuck at this remote home with nothing there, no Wi-Fi, no running water, no
Nothing.
anything, any of the basic necessities. And so I just have a hard time with Angels being set up completely by production and she didn't plan any of this kind of thing. Because also, half of the argument for her doing this trip is spotlighting her business, which is planning
Right.
trips and stuff. And so I'm just like, I think people sort of want it both ways kind of in this situation when they're defending Angel fully. And again, I have sympathy for her. I think that there's like
Yes.
she's in over her head, clearly. I
Yeah.
just don't think that she's blameless, like people seem to be arguing online.
Yeah. She's not complete. Like you said, she didn't do the check ins. Also, I don't know what she keeps saying it was supposed to be a couple's trip, then at the last minute.
I
And
don't get
and I don't know
that.
if that's her way around talking about production, but you would have needed it. That would have been worse.
More space. There would have been
Yeah,
more
like,
space. Yeah.
yeah,
Also, the men having to go through that.
come on. And then on top of that, on Angela Yee's podcast, she said, because remember, she's telling us it's high season, there's no homes. She said there were more homes. However, she had to make a choice. Do I book a house closer to our activities? Or do I book a house closer to my house? I didn't want the girls to have to drive an hour every day to the activities. I figured I would drive. That's why I had booked that house
Well,
instead.
that's
And
the
I
wrong
was like,
decision.
well,
That's the
that
wrong
could have
decision.
been an activity we could have got sprinter footage.
Totally. No, it's like, and as the women said when they first got there, it's like what you're missing is those late night hangouts. You're missing the just like
Yes.
everything is like just driving in a car on this trip, and it's just
It's a lot.
yeah, it would that would really wear me down. Um, so
Can
yeah,
I
I mean
say
that yeah.
one more thing? Also, when you said she's not blameless, I just thought about Angela Yee kind of called her out and was basically like, did you let the ladies know
Mm.
that they were staying somewhere else? Did you tell them they were staying at your house? She said, I wasn't forthright, like just saying you're not staying at my house, but I just thought it would be understood. But then when they showed the flashback of her and Monique talking, Monique says, you're letting these ladies stay at your house. And she says, they're going to be on the acres. I would have thought we're staying at her house and she's
Oh,
joking about them sleeping
definitely.
outside.
I mean, if they thought as a viewer, we definitely thought they were staying at their house, and
Yeah.
she never told. They were all surprised not being at her house, and
Yes. And they
and
said they
I
didn't know any of it.
and I also I think you sort of alluded to this, but it's like I think overall an issue for me with Angel is that like she keeps saying like what's her line? It's like I want these I want to get to know these ladies. I want the ladies to get to know me. And it's like you don't seem nothing no way in the way that she's carrying herself shows that she's making any sort of effort to actually get to know them. Like it just she wants to avoid any nighttime activities with them. She doesn't want to do the sleepover. She doesn't it just feels like and I know that it's hard because two things can be true. Because I know she feels beaten down. I know she feels like
Hmm.
they are like, I'm not giving her a chance, but I don't know how much of an effort she's actually making to get to know them either.
That and I okay, so I go back and forth with that because I did once
Yeah.
again, and I'm sorry to keep bringing it up, but I did listen to one of her interviews, right? This is what she says.
Yeah.
So I'm going to throw this out to you so that maybe because you know the world of these housewives.
Yeah.
She says because Angela Yee brought that up, and she says, well, she bought Ashley a pink toolkit and gave it to her at Pride and said, I want to build our friendship.
That's cute,
Her
actually.
her and Wendy, she called Wendy up and they met up and went to lunch. And then she said at the Preakness, after that big blow up at Kiana's, they went to Preakness. She said she pulled Wendy aside and said, I apologize if I misread your intentions. But there's a part of me that's wondering, are you saying that? I mean, we know that it can happen. Oh, and then she said Giselle at one point had lost power. And so she texted her and said, you're welcome to come, which this is her saying this and watching them not shower is wild to me because she said
Yeah, it
she
is.
texted Giselle and was like, you can come to my house, bring your kids, you can shower and do whatever it is you need to do. And I'm thinking,
Foreshadowing.
right. And so, but my thought is, like, was that on camera? Like, was that, like, I'm trying to make sense. So you're telling me they cut all of, I know that sometimes they do, yes,
Hmm.
but they cut all of this out. And then sometimes I wonder if we catch Angel in a lie or being deceitful. She maintaining. I was always planning on moving back to Potomac. It wasn't just for the show, but then on the most recent episode, didn't she tell Kay, if this is how it's going to be, this is why I was coming to Potomac? And I was like, oh,
Yep. And she's like, now I have reservations about being here.
thank you.
And yep.
So if you were always coming, because in her in with I think with virtual reality or somebody else, she says, I had reached out to Kay because I had already been looking for. She said I've reached out to Kay for the person who did her condo. Now I'm thinking, is it the condo? What condo? Because on the show we found out that it's not been bought. Greg said he
Right.
was going.
He
So
rented
that's
it.
what makes me. I'm like,
Mm. Yeah,
Angel.
there's just a lot of different stories that aren't completely adding up. And honestly, I always say this for somebody who has not proven themselves in my eyes. The reunion is the big chance to
Mm,
do that. And so if this is all correct, Angel should bring a folder of receipts and
yeah,
show us these texts of her reaching out to Giselle and to Wendy. Like that's what she needs to do. Because I do think she is showing signs of learning sort of
yeah.
what is sort of demanded of her as a housewife, which is to like give it back to them first of all.
Hmm.
Like her putting them in the twin beds was a good move
Yes.
in terms of housewives. Like there's a couple moments where she's like, she's letting them have it, and I think that that's
Hmm.
good. I want that from her. And as
Yes.
Wendy said at some point, like she wants Angel to stand on business. And I do think, and I think I've talked about this before, but like it's funny coming from Wendy because it took Wendy like 5 seasons to get there, but now she is there. And I do think, I guess you can read it as her trying to help Angel understand that earlier than she maybe did in terms of
Yeah.
her relationships with Wendy and with Ashley and Giselle. Uh, so that I think is an interesting thing too,
Yes.
because she's not really showing that many signs of trying to like guide Angel in the right
No.
direction.
And they both came in. Wendy came in 7 weeks postpartum, hormones. Angel is still
Good,
breastfeeding, she
yeah, that's
said.
a good point.
So it's like that could have
Mm-hmm.
been a
Mm-hmm.
bonding
What?
situation.
Yeah. What do you think about? Because people feel really strongly about this. I think on either direction. Monique talking about how she sees herself an angel, and she sees how Angel's carrying herself as a wag. She thinks she's sort of losing her own identity, and she's worried that she might pop off in the way that she did at one point. And like, what's your read on how Monique is conveying that, and how genuine it is?
I will be honest and transparent. I have never been a Monique girl. I will say
Okay.
that. However, I said to myself, you were going in unbiased
To
and
this
speak
season.
what you, yes, to this season, speak what you feel, open slate. Because there are times when I do agree with
Yeah.
Monique, right? This to me felt like such a, it's one thing to say, I've recognized the trying to be perfect, the perfectionism and
Yeah.
this. But to try to tie that into her marriage when you have not been around Bobby is what is really making me want to scream. Because as a healed person, you would reflect and remember how this triggered you when they did that to you. So if in fact you really cared about Angel and wanted to prevent this, even if you wanted to get a conversation on camera, you would have had that conversation with Angel and said, hey, yes, they would have filmed it, I'm sure. But you put that out there with these women because you knew one of them was going to pick it up. And it just really irritated me because let's be honest, how, Chris got on national TV on a couples trip and said, and they had to demonstrate how they think about their wives. And it was you on your knees. And then you have the nerve to come and tell Angel, who you've barely spent time with, her husband, who you had not been around, and say that she's carrying most of the weight. That could be true. But you know, you have those people, those wives that the husbands are pitching in. But at the end of the day, the wife feels like I'm still going to do it my way. And he's great, but I'm still going to do it. That doesn't mean he's not pitching in and
Mm-hmm.
helping. And I feel like the way Monique is trying to present it is like Angel has her situation that she had with Chris. And from what I've seen with Bobby, he seems very supportive. He's always got a baby in his arm, on his hip,
Mm-hmm.
and he's always supporting her. So it just really irritated me because I felt like if Monique truly felt that way, the conversation could have been had differently and not with, or even with the ladies in the car. You could have left out the marriage part of it a little bit and just
Right.
focused on Angel.
Right. Yeah. I think that those are really good points. I think for me, like the sort of baseline thing that maybe she just should have stuck with is how like losing yourself as a wag,
Yes.
and I do think there is something legitimate in
Agree.
a professional athlete who is used to the shine and is used to having the attention and sort of his career driving his family's lifestyle and like it
Hmm.
all surrounding that. Suddenly she's going to be on TV show. He's no longer like, I
Yeah.
understand. I think that is like a very legitimate thing to bring up and to talk to Angel about, not to
Yes.
the other women, you know, but that, so I think there's something in there. I think if she's
Yes.
observing Angel, you know, um, and I do think there's a lot of truth in Buffy, I can. It feels like he doesn't like doing the show, but that doesn't mean that like their marriage is flawed in a big way or
Hmm.
something like that. So, and I also think that to me the biggest stretch of the whole thing, because again, baseline, I understood part of it with Angel.
Yes.
The stretch to me was tying it back to Monique, you know, grabbing Candace's hair in season
Yes.
5, and that being because of her marriage, and like there were too many like lily pads to jump on to get to that end point to tie it to like popping off, and she doesn't want Angel to lose her cool. Like that part to me was the biggest stretch because Angel
Yes.
has shown no signs of that being in her at all, you know, and
At
just
all.
so that to me was the part where I was like, Monique, I think we need to dial it back a little bit if we're gonna, you know, go down
And
this road.
what you just said would have been an interesting conversation because I think I heard Robin say that before, and I had
Yes,
never thought
definitely.
about it that way. Like they're used to the spotlight being on
Yeah,
them. They
they're on the
want you to do.
pedestal.
This is such a wildly connected, interconnected, but I used to have another podcast I
Hmm.
started podcasting in 2016, and Jamal Bryant, because I used to attend the church, was one of my
Did you? I didn't know
first
this,
guests.
Taria.
Oh,
Oh
the
my God.
things we could
I don't
talk
know this
about.
lore. Wow. Maybe
Yes,
that's another episode.
the
Wow.
things
Okay.
we could talk about that I saw. Yeah. So
Hmm.
I attended. I will say this when because we moved here from Jersey, so we didn't know anything about him. But we were both born, raised in church. My husband was like, I want to go back to church. And I did too. I enjoyed church. So he saw Jamal on TV one night and said, oh, let's check out this church. When we first went, Giselle was there. We were going. And then we had taken a break for like 2 years because we used to go back to Jersey like almost every weekend. When we came back, she wasn't there any longer. But anyway,
Wow.
wild things.
Wow.
And her on this show is not too far from real life First Lady. Yeah. So, but one of the things he said, which goes back to what you were saying that I thought would be interesting, he even said, he talked about with his marriage, because I brought up all of that. And he said, you go from being, now this is wild, who I'm going to mention is wild. You go from being invited to the Super Bowl by Diddy and then having to come home and have your wife tell you to take out the trash mentally, because you're here. You're thinking I'm mixing and I'm mingling, then I got to come home and I'm not the star. I'm not in
Mm,
this space anymore. I'm in this space, right?
mhm.
So it was like, so you saying that, that's the conversation I would
Yeah,
want to hear.
it's very
Angel,
interesting.
how has Bobby, I know with me, Chris and I, da 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 da, like
Yes,
that would be
exactly.
what I'd want to hear.
Yeah, the delivery and the dissemination of these ideas was just all wrong.
Yeah.
Because I again I do, and I also don't. It's hard to tell because I do read. I don't read Monique's quote unquote concern for Angel to be like completely disingenuous. I actually
Mhm.
like. I think she maybe doesn't even realize how much she's projecting. Almost, like I don't. But like I don't think it's ill. I don't think there's like ill intent behind it. But
Mhm.
um, I mean, maybe there is in terms of, getting the other women to like question her. I don't know, but
That's
yeah,
what I can't figure because Monique doesn't always ring as authentic to me. So I'm
right.
like, was your intention like to me? And real quick, I'm 99% sure it was Diddy who he said, look, I'm gonna go back and listen to my old episode
Okay.
from 10
Maybe you
years
should
ago.
re-release that
But
episode.
I should over here on We Go Podcast because
Hmm.
I brought up the things, all of it. But
That's People would like
yeah,
that.
it was interesting to hear that side of it, I'll tell you. Because I was like, if my thing is when I'm interviewing someone, either we can talk about it. If we can't talk about that, the whole point of you being here on this type of podcast is to talk about like back then.
Right.
And he was willing to talk about it. And I was like, oh, okay, we're going to go
Yeah.
there. Uh, Darn it, you brought up something and I just forgot.
Oh,
I'll come back to it.
sorry.
No, 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 that was,
Monique,
but
something about Monique, but
yes, I just want like it. Oh, when she brought up, I should look up if there's any Airbnbs. Just joking. She knew somebody was gonna look it up
yeah.
because what the Jazzy do, look it up. So I will say it's interesting seeing her and Giselle's dynamic. Do you think? And I could just be saying this because
Hmm.
I love me some Candy Gal. So you could be honest and tell me.
Yeah.
There is a part of me that feels like Giselle is going to do whatever it takes to make her and Monique work because then it would look like Candace was like they're not going to say it on TV, but to viewers, see, Candace was the problem. See, you know what I mean? And
Yeah.
I could just be feeling that because I'm a candy gal. So
No, no, I think that there's like a lot of Candace subtext and like a lot of what's going on this season. It's definitely in the Monique and Giselle thing. And I think that
okay,
also it's like if Monique and Giselle are an aligned duo, they'll never be a dynamic duo, but if they're aligned and they're on
yeah,
the same page, that makes it much less appealing. And Candace has said she doesn't want to come back to the show, at least for now, but that
yeah,
makes it even more unappealing in Candace's eyes. And I think
yeah,
it kind of sends a message. I think it's, Monique's healed, but she doesn't want to coexist with Candace.
no,
Giselle does not want to coexist with Candace on the show. And
no,
I mean, and also, I don't know if that would work. I just don't.
that's
So it's like, I definitely think that Candace is like an elephant in the room for a lot of this.
mhm.
I think it's an elephant in the room with Wendy getting close to Giselle and Ashley, which I think like
Yeah,
it's. I'm glad that's happened this season for Wendy's sake on the show because it had to happen. Like there was a breakthrough that happened at the last reunion with Wendy and Giselle and Wendy and Ashley. I think in terms of their dynamic and be able to like go tit for tat and not take it
yes,
personally. But and so it was Wendy had to do that, and I think
yeah,
Wendy's having her best season partially because of that. But
agree,
it's also an interesting look if you're Candace watching that happen. And
right,
Candace has said that she doesn't watch the show, but like she knows that Wendy is doing that. And it's just, we know what happened in those several seasons. And Wendy was on the other side of it with Candace. And so it's
right.
I think about Candace a lot watching this season. I really do.
Me too.
And it, partially because she's killing it on the traders. And
Yeah,
so, we see how much we're not that you need to be reminded, but we're reminded of how
yeah,
much of a star she is. And I think that
yes,
like she is thriving on the traders partially because she's no longer in that environment. And that was a toxic environment
yeah,
for her. And so, I think sometimes when housewives like are not stuck on these casts, but kind of stuck in a situation where like their only choice is to be on this one show for right now. And I
yeah,
don't, it's not gelling for
yeah,
multiple, Potomac wasn't gelling for a lot of reasons, but
yes.
for Candace in particular, you, for a little bit there, like I didn't like watching the show that much. And it wasn't just because of her, but once they pulled her out, it started to work again.
Mhm.
And then she's kind of back on TV after a couple of years now of being
Right.
away. And I'm like, it's this like refreshing feeling where I'm like, oh my God, she's so much light. She's so much like, it feels less
Lighter
heavy.
and
It's
yeah,
not, there's not like a heaviness on her shoulders. And
yeah.
like, she has it. I don't know. And I didn't even remind it, but I sort of did. I sort of, you know?
And what you just said is it goes back to the Wendy of it all, because I'm sure you've seen the discourse where they're like, oh, the discourse of everybody just wants to kiss Giselle's butt and be her friend. Well, I think there's two things happening.
Yeah.
They know that the network has made her the face of Potomac. I mean,
Yep.
but also I want them to be able. So I'm glad that Wendy's able to enjoy going to work, because for
Exactly.
so many seasons she probably went in with her defenses
She's
up.
having fun.
Yes, she's having, and it's nice to see the professor having fun.
We all have had jobs where you have to put up with people and you have to figure
Yeah,
out you have to figure out, okay, how do I work with this person?
yeah,
What do I have to shift or change or not say or say? And
yep.
when Wendy has figured that out, I think Giselle has figured that out with like it's kind of but from both sides. And I'm looking forward to Karen being back on the show next season
Oh,
because like I mean for several reasons. I think it's a check for Giselle,
yeah.
and I think that somebody brought up a really good point. Oh, this woman Marjan Carlos, who I had on a couple weeks ago, she was talking about how without Karen, there's no sort of nurturing Grand Dame OG person that could have maybe helped.
Yes.
They could have helped Angel through this. She could have helped Kiarna after her first
Oh,
season,
yeah.
and so I think that is something I'm looking forward to on Potomac. Yeah,
And I do think that that nurturing is what's missing, because I do believe, and tell me if you think
uh
so,
huh.
if Karen had been on this season, despite her issues with Stacey last season, when she saw the pile on happening, I think she would have stepped in
I think so too.
and said something. So yeah,
Yeah,
I
I
miss
think
I
so
miss
too.
that.
Yeah. Last couple little things about
Okay.
Potomac before we move on. Jazzy's being a double agent. She's
Ooh.
she's in that house. She's texting Angel. She's repeating the conversation this past episode. But so I'm curious what you think about that quickly. And then second, sort of under that, what did she mean? Because she was talking about how she should have been to Angel's house instead of Tia, but what did she mean that Tia was there by default? I didn't understand that.
Okay. I like Jazzy. Sometimes I feel like Jazzy can be a little much, because it's always this voice in
Yeah.
and I want to get to Jazzy,
I
even
don't
though I
dislike her. I just think that she's being a little bit
performative.
inauthentic, yeah,
Oh yes,
performative this season because I think she felt that she had to. But at the
yes,
base, I do like her. But what do
me
you
too.
what did by default mean there? Do you know?
I think she meant, because I'm not a housewife and she is, so production wanted to see her
I
there.
see.
That's
Okay.
immediately what I thought,
Okay.
and I could
That's
be
the
wrong. But
coded
when she
language.
kept saying
Okay.
by default, I was like, because
Oh, that
Jazzy
makes
would
sense.
say it, so I was like, oh, she
Hmm.
can't say it, and
Okay.
Angel can't say it either. So the
Yeah,
double agent, it gave us a little bit of action. I was like,
I agree.
Jazzy, but at the same time, I was like,
Jazzy.
Jazzy.
Right, right. I get it. I get it.
Yes.
Um, the thing that I really did not like about this episode, and I don't know if we've ever seen them do this on Real Housewives on any franchise. I liked the Kimo Sabe situation when they were going
Yes.
shopping and they were at the bar and they were having fun.
I know what you're
And
gonna
then
say.
and then they stood in a half circle and went through what they bought and said the exact prices out loud. There was something so off about that to me. I really didn't like that.
It was so cringy. And I have said, so shout out to Rodney the Voice. I don't know if you saw Sharice's interview with Carlos King, and she goes, they call them the Real Housewives of Potomac. Rodney started that years ago. He would
Mm.
say that. And I said, they got sick of Rodney saying that, because what is the other? They had already showed us their totals.
Right.
So why then stand around? It felt
It was so
so
weird.
cringy and I was almost embarrassed. What other housewives show? And quite frankly, I was looking at y'all crazy. The most I would have spent would have been for a hat. $4,000 for a turquoise belt. And then Angel asking Giselle, do you think I should get this for Bobby? What?
I know. I
I would have
know.
been like,
Giselle was like, "You're talking to me? Like,
yes,
you're asking
like,
me?"
oh, I was like, I wish she had even said the better to slice you with, Giselle, like, or
Ah!
something,
Yes, I
like
know.
you
I
sliced me with
know.
your words, but I got you, or like
Uh,
something. But I was just like, it was so cringy. And shout out to Stacey
I know.
for bringing some
I know how to
fun.
stay rich. That's what she
I,
said.
I said, come on, stay. And Wendy saying, and we're not just rich, our kids are too. I was like, were they on the claim? No, but it was after that.
Oh my God, you're so. I mean, listen, it's one of those things where it's like they kept these things in, but also Wendy knew what was going on
Yes,
allegedly, and she knew
yes.
what she was saying on camera. Just
I
like, oh
just,
my
I
God, got
just,
carried
that was
away.
so cringy. Okay, I have to
It
ask you this.
was.
Do you think, because you're probably going to get to it, but the Mauricio of it all, do you think, to me, when I saw Stacy and Ashley in that stairwell with Mauricio, I felt like if they wanted it to happen, either hang out, do whatever with Mauricio, they would have. I mean, he would have been up for it.
I think so too.
I
I
think
think
so.
Mauricio's in his sleeping around era. We can all tell, you know.
He
And
is.
so I think if they had not flown out of Aspen that evening, it seems like
Mhm.
they were there for the day. If they had spent the night there, things could have gone down. I think.
I think so. And then Kyle's response to it when she was
I
like,
know.
it was kind of embarrassing. And I felt like,
I
Kyle,
didn't even watch
your
it.
response to this is embarrassing. You should have said, everybody thinks Mauricio's fine. I get it,
Right.
and moved
Also,
on.
and like I understand saying I would never go
Yes.
for another housewife's husband. I understand
Yes.
that on principle, but
Yes.
like I don't really think that her and Ashley know each other very well. Her and Stacey don't know each other probably. So
Yes.
it's like they have no allegiance to you. Like they're not on your show. And Marisha's out. That was just her being like protective and weird about it. I thought that was a weird
Yes.
response as well. It's
And
funny
her,
that Giselle texted her.
well, I was going to say, I felt like that was from I know what Bravo think, the network thinks of Kyle Richards. She's the head honcho over in Beverly Hills. Because I believe
Yeah, I think you're right.
if it was a Sutton or if it was one
Right.
of them other girls from New York, you would not care.
Yeah.
But she made it a point on the after show. She said on the show she would do the horizontal, whatever, with Mauricio. On the after show, she continues to talk about it. She says he could get the underwear. Underwear is not the word she used, but some people are funny about that word. But he could get the underwear. She kept on. And
Mm.
then she was kind of trying to put it on Stacy to take the heat off of Ashley. She was saying Stacy would have, Stacy would have, Stacy would have, Stacy would have.
But Stacy's with her ex-husband again.
We
So
noticed on Watch What Happens Live, she said, "Oh yes, they're back together, but do I think she wants to be? No, Stacy's in these streets."
what does that even mean? What
What
does
does
that
that
even
even
mean?
mean? So yeah.
Yeah.
So but yeah,
Oh,
what a show.
listen, what a show, what a trip we're on. Again, I'm overall really enjoying myself. It's and you know what? Again, it just is like it feels so good to have so much to talk about with Potomac and enjoy talking about it again in a way. Like it just I don't know. I'm happy with the direction of the show right now. I am.
Do you think Angel should get a second season?
I think uh I think the reunion will be
Oh,
really
that's
telling to me.
okay.
I do like for example with Katie on OC, like I thought that she should have come in much stronger on that reunion than she did, and
Yeah,
that
yeah.
was part of it. There's a lot going on there too. But I think with Angel, uh
I think it depends on her because it's like I would like to see her come back, but I just don't know if she
I
has it
could,
in
but
her.
couldn't you also see because the second season for a housewife is always a difficult thing, even if you've had an amazing first season, it's difficult
Yes.
to follow up. I could see her overcorrecting so much to where it's like
Yeah.
completely like inauthentic in the other direction.
Yes. That's, you know what? I agree. And then it would be
I
crazy.
think I just ultimately I do feel bad for how this experience has gone for her. I think
Yeah.
ultimately I don't need her back on a second season. I just don't know if it's like Housewives is not for everybody. And I think that
Yeah.
like a lot of people have argued, you know, she has the affluent lifestyle, she's rich, she has an amazing family, she has properties, but like you can have all of that. You can have all the material things and sort of on paper be, oh, she would be great for this. If you don't have the personality, if you don't
Yes.
have the quickness,
Hmm.
especially on Potomac where you have to be really quick compared to other, you have to like
Yes.
really you have to give it to other people. And I know that some people have gotten chances to learn that over the years, but I have not been fully convinced that Angel has that in her. And
Yeah.
am I open to being proven wrong? Absolutely. But my gut would be that especially with like Karen coming back,
Yeah.
the prospect of Wendy being back potentially. I don't know if that's going to happen.
Right.
I just don't know if Angel has to be there.
Yeah. I said I was not Team Angel or was really seeing it for Angel because
Yeah.
the Wendy, her and the Wendy of it all was weird. The energy she had for her, but not for Giselle and Ashley.
Oh
But
yeah.
I said, yes, she could come back for a second season, but she would have to. But then, like you said, is she going to overcorrect?
Yeah.
So I think if she came to the reunion with a Bobby is not perfect by far, then maybe she'll redeem herself like Portia did.
By far
Cordell
is
is
so
not
good.
perfect by
Yeah,
far.
by far is really very
Yeah.
good.
So,
Um, all right, let's move over to Married to Medicine a little
ooh,
bit. Where do we even start here? Toya's on one this season, and I think
I,
part of it is good for the show because she'll bring stuff up, but part of it, I'm
Mhm.
like, you're doing a lot.
You know how they say intrusive thoughts?
Uh-huh.
Toya is an Aries, and I've always loved her down. Always.
Hmm.
Eugene is a Sagittarius. I think my husband is one. I
Uh-huh.
always felt like that would
Okay,
probably
like a little
be.
kinship.
Me and my husband interviewed her and her husband together in 2016, years ago. Yes, love Toya, the outspoken. I've
Hmm.
defended her on the show. This season, I have said she is an Aries intrusive thought in person form. Toya, we don't need all of that. And it's not even to the point where it's, you kind of go, clutch your pearls, but it's funny. It's like, you are being annoying now. Like,
Hmm.
it is really going too far. And a part of me is like, is starting to wonder, is this for the show or is this you in real life for real? Because I feel like with Married to Medicine, we pretty much get how they are
Yeah, 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 I
in real
agree.
life.
Hmm.
So I'm like, if this is you and the thing is, Toya has points this season,
Hmm.
but they're wrapped up in her being annoying. And sometimes it's hard to see
Yeah,
that.
I do like that she is giving it to Heavenly, especially given this.
Oh, yes.
Because I said this to Brooke Ashley last week. She was on the show.
Yes.
I was like, somebody has to give it to Heavenly, and Heavenly does not know how to take it. But she's been giving it out for so many years that, like,
Mm-hmm.
I'm glad Toya is going for it. Again,
Me too.
I think that she's maybe picking too many moments, and perhaps, but like, I'm glad she's at least going for it.
Yeah.
What do you make? They were at the parking lot for the campaign launch, and I have to say, just like for the pure like campiness of it all, like the idea that Quad Webb is Dr. Heavenly's campaign manager for Congress, it really tickles me. Like
Yes.
it's really quite phenomenal. Like I
It's
just it's amazing. It
yeah.
is. Like I know it's
Yes.
silly, but it's amazing.
I love how Contessa kind of, sort of, but not really broke the fourth wall when she brought up Quad being her campaign manager, and she says to Heavenly, "Yes, we know that Quad is, but outside." And I think she was talking about us viewers.
Right, 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 right. What do you make of? Because I really like Brandy. I think that she like I get a good vibe
You.
from her. Like
Me too.
she's fun to watch. I want to see more.
Mhm.
What do you make of Dr. Mimi telling Brandy that she does what Toya wants her to do? Because and she said that because Brandy had said, you know, I'm not necessarily endorsing Heavenly for Congress yet. I need to see more.
Yes, so Dr. Mimi, so you're the reason that I tapped back in last season. Everyone that listens to you knows that. I was off because of Dr.
Yes.
Heavenly, and then when you said, "Will you come on?" So you made me catch back up, and
Oh
I
my
was
God, I
back
remember
in.
that.
So
Yes,
it's
you did
because
the
of you.
work.
So now I'm back.
You're
Um,
welcome.
I'm clipping that, and every time I say something, I'm going to post you going, "You're welcome," because that was perfect. I There's something about Dr. Mimi that just annoyed me. And
Mm,
it kind of sort of reminded me of Dr. Jackie a little, but people love her. So normally when I have a feeling about a person, I try to stick to it. But then when you see the people that you have these conversations with love them, you're like, okay, what am I not seeing? So maybe I'm missing it. I feel like, granted, you've already heard me say I love Toya, but she's doing a lot. I feel like Dr. Mimi takes any moment she can to do little shots at Toya instead of being direct with Toya. I
mm,
feel like she's taking up Heavenly's beef, and she knows that Dr. Jackie doesn't really like Toya, and I feel like she's taking that on a little bit. So when she says to Brandy, you could do more, who are you? You don't really know me. Let's be clear. You don't know what I do politically. I'm actually doing the responsible thing by listening to what she's saying. I haven't bashed her. I just said, you want me on camera to let's get it out of the way. I'm a black woman. You're a black woman. We're a black cat. So you want me on camera to say that I'm endorsing her
Endorsing.
because she's a black woman. That's what you're trying to say. But if we're supposed to be keeping it real, this is how I feel. I didn't say I'm not endorsing her. And I'm pretty sure maybe Brandy probably is. I'm like 85% sure. But then when she said, be careful who you're aligning yourself with. So what you're telling me is that you're in an alliance. That's what you're telling me.
Yeah, that was that word choice stuck out to me as well.
Yeah.
And I think you're absolutely correct in that reading. I think also in there is like something where Dr. Mimi is sort of trying to claim seniority over Brandy because she was around last year, even though she was like an inconsequential friend of. I felt like last year. So I think that there was some of that, and also like us as a show should be endorsing Dr.
Yes.
Heavenly, and like it's layered in there. I feel like
Yeah. Because, and
yeah,
she could have got that message across, leaving the Toya of it all out of it.
yes, yeah,
You could have very much got the, cis message out.
yeah,
But and I loved Brandy's energy. I don't need you to diagnose me.
yeah. Me
I'm
too.
not diagnosing me. Then what are you standing here for? I was like, come
I
on,
love Brandy.
Brandy.
Yeah, yeah.
Yes.
Brandy's fun. I like her. The last thing I want to ask about Married to Medicine is that if we go to Angel's Scrubs unveiling, like the sexy scrubs, it kind of makes me laugh. But they actually look good.
Yeah.
You know, this whole thing of Simone saying that she's going to look up the VIN number on Quad's car. And so that becomes a Quad versus Simone thing that gets really heated. But then that turns into Simone versus Heavenly because Simone is mad at Heavenly for repeating what she said to Quad. So Simone kind of like denies it to Quad, but then she kind of tells on herself by getting mad at Heavenly a little bit because
Yes.
that she's mad at Heavenly for repeating what she actually did say, So
Yes.
it's and I think that obviously, we've seen there's a big talk with Simone and Jackie about her marriage that I thought was I really appreciate how open Simone was. Like Simone, I like how frank she is sometimes. Like
Me too.
I really appreciate that about her. But I mentioned that just to say that like this is going on in Simone's life, and I think that she's very stressed about her marriage genuinely. And so this is informing, I think, a lot of how she is reacting to some of this stuff in the group scenes,
I agree. And I also feel so Dr. Heavenly is another one that I don't necessarily trust what she says because she'll put something out there and then you'll find out later on her YouTube or on Carlos King's YouTube, she'll say, well, that's what I heard. So she does that a lot. So like when she says, I have heard stuff about Toya's marriage, then it's, well, that's what I heard. When they talked about Quad seasons ago, maybe or maybe not filming, and they were talking about money, how much she get paid. She goes, well, that's what the little boys down to the Bravo told me. So it's like, okay. So, but I want to go back. I'm going to go back and listen again and see if I can find this clip and see if we hear it. She said she doesn't understand why Simone got so upset because they were filming when Simone said it, which then led me to believe, so did she say it as a joke? And the way you presented it to Quad, because she was like, so I don't understand why she's so mad. She said, if I had the VIN number, I would look it up, da, 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 da. She said it. We laughed. So then I'm like, so are you purposely presenting it that way? But then if that's the case, why did Simone get so mad at you?
But I think if I'm Simone and I said it to Heavenly, whether it was totally serious or a joke, I still think I'd be mad either way. Because one is you're blowing up my spot about Quad, and the other is you're misconstruing my words.
Yes, and you're presenting
and
it
either
to
way
Quad
I'm mad.
You're presenting it. And Toya had a good point. Why do you keep saying stuff to Heavenly? She keeps showing you over and over and over again. This scene also highlighted, I don't know, Angel baby, you just might need to sell scrubs. And take care of patients, because what did you make of her checking Simone but not saying anything to Quad? And Simone was like, well, are you going to say something to Quad? And she tried to get like, this is not about you now. And of course, Simone just, woof. So then Angel doesn't get a word in. What did you make about that? And about her bringing something up to Toya. Toya saying we'll have a one-off. Her continuing to bring it up. Toya asking, "What are you talking about?" And her saying, "We're not talking about it." Like, what did you make of Angel in those scenarios?
Yeah, I think I'm with you in that it just kind of shows that she
It's
isn't
very
as
pretty.
like, yeah, she's not as like adept at this. Like
Yeah.
she's not thinking it through, maybe,
Yes,
you
yes.
know?
I like her on Basketball Wives, but this is the look. This is different. This is
Hmm.
very different.
Yeah, and I think that it can be a difficult position to come in as somebody's friend
Hmm.
because you either, especially if you're so closely aligned with somebody or like that's clearly like her and like she came in as quad friend, like you're either like a lapdog or you turn on them and you're called unloyal, disloyal to them.
Yes.
And so it's kind of a hard situation, but I think she's being
Yeah.
a little bit too, yeah,
Like
yeah,
she could, because when she walked away and said, "I can't take you no," and when she said, "I'm not going to invite you to any more events," and Simone is like, whatever. I was like, "Oh, Angel baby,
yeah.
this is cringy," because she would have you either, like you said, have to come in with that strong energy, which people may call you a lapdog, but like I
At
ain't say
least you're
nothing to her.
being loyal. Yeah.
Yes, that's my girl, and I know you
She
said
can't
what you
say
said
that.
about my girl, but she can't.
Yeah.
So it's just like,
Hmm.
Married to Medicine is so good this season. I
It
think Married
is.
to Medicine is one of the few franchises that can kind of rinse and repeat and it still be good though.
Yeah, no, I think that like last season on Married to Medicine, I will always enjoy this show, I think, because
Yeah.
I think I like most of the people and like I like following their stories after so long. Last season I was worried about it feeling too rinse and repeat. Like
Okay.
I was a little bit worried. This season I feel like it feels the same but with a little refresh, and
Yeah.
it
Yeah.
feels it's still the same show. Obviously, we all have all the same characters, but it feels a little bit like they're getting it, and they're
Yes.
not that they didn't get it before, but I think the newbies or Brandy's adding something. Even though Mimi, I can go either way. Like I think that she's with an elevated status on the show, maybe that's
Yes.
helping her. I think Toya's locked in a different way than she has been in
Hmm.
last couple of years. So yeah, I'm into it. I'm really into it this season, and also it's
Yeah.
like this show I think has some of the best reunions out of any cast on Bravo,
Yes.
and so I
Yes.
always look forward to those.
Yes.
Always.
And
Yeah.
I'm glad I we have less of Heavenly. But I will say this is one of the few shows that every single one of them makes me laugh and every
Yeah.
single one of them makes me want to scream in rage.
But that is a perfect that is what you should feel about a reality
Yes.
star, you know?
Yes.
I really do feel that way.
Yeah.
Um, do you have 10 more minutes to do a little Salt Lake
I
City
have
chat?
whatever
Okay.
time you have.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay. Let's end with some Salt Lake City, part two of the reunion. What an interesting episode of television this was.
Wait,
I
did
guess
you
my
see
first
my tweet to you a couple weeks ago?
maybe what was it?
I tweeted and said, I can't believe I'm saying this or something, but I'm actually on Lisa's side
Oh my
and at
God.
don't say anything to I said, don't say anything to me. But that was then. Now we're at the reunion.
For those who don't know the Lord, that's how Taria and I first got connected because we were disagreeing over Lisa Barlow, and I was like, let's get on the pod and talk about it. So, yeah. Uh, we start off this episode finding out what's in Angie's scroll. And I like Angie. I am over the prop work. Generally at reunions, not just
Yeah.
for her. I'm like, it's
Yeah.
kind of it really has to deliver. And in this case, it's not that it didn't have legitimate information in it. It seems
Yeah.
like clearly this Candace Story 7 Instagram account, it had Lisa's phone number on it.
Yeah.
But it was kind of a confusing reveal and kind of like it took a lot of explanation, you know? So I think that that's why the scroll part didn't land.
Yes.
Um, we didn't really get fully to an answer on this, I guess.
Yeah. It's
Like she
okay.
says that they planted her phone number onto the account. They
I
say that they didn't, and they've known for years. And Angie talked about this whole thing about like wishing Electra happy birthday on her Instagram
mhm.
story and whatever.
I
Yeah, what do you
feel
think?
I feel like I believe that it was Lisa with the phone number attached.
Hmm.
At the same time, I know Lisa can't say if she's going to say it's not her, she can't say it. But at the same time, if I was Lisa, I'd be like, so y'all have known about this for years and y'all have been cool being around me
Right.
and you're just waiting to deliver it now because you're
Yes.
upset with me, because when you're not, you could, if they could have checked Lisa on a moment when they were getting along, she would receive it if you're trying to, but you're delivering it now because you're upset, which I get, because we all, we're
Yeah,
gonna
of course.
drop bombs. But like you said, with it landed a little, but then it didn't land because there was a bunch of back and forth, and it's like,
Yeah. And I also think it's just sort of like it, and it to me it almost went beyond like whether it was true or not. And I think it probably was, again, because of the phone number. But one, like, we have to stop trying to recreate a reality Von Teese moment where there's a big reveal about, and also just like this cast, why are we going to such lengths to like say you forgot your password on a random account that's been trolling you with 7 followers, and then you're going to see that it's the phone number, and then you're going to hold on to it, and then you're going to check who viewed your story at this point and when. It's just like it's a lot of work on Instagram and on like on with troll. Like I'm just, that's where this cast needs to stop with this
with
stuff, because
that, yeah,
I really, it's hard to care about that kind of stuff at this point on the
yes.
show. And it's so, I'm so tired of talking about things that are happening on their phones and not on camera. And it's, yeah.
And bringing up, like Lisa bringing up,
Yeah.
and I think they get so lasered
It's not
in,
interesting.
yeah, at that moment, that they're also kind of like subtly throwing their friend at the butt. Like Lisa saying to Heather, well, what do you have on your phone from three
Right.
years ago? And now
About
Meredith
Meredith.
catches a
Yeah.
stray. It's
Yeah.
like,
Yeah. Yeah.
we don't care about that. I am very pissed that there's absolutely no freaking footage from the plane. And then Heather has the nerve to say, what kind of POS would I be? And then they show a flashback to you recording Lisa's meltdown.
Or also that the it's kind of another, you know, catching strays moment was when Heather's like, "What kind of piece of shit would do that?" And Whitney had just said, "Like, I wish I had recorded." And then Meredith's like, "Well, now you're calling your cousin a piece of shit." I
Yes,
mean,
yes.
that was really funny.
That was good. Some of their little side commentary was
Yes,
so funny.
it
Like,
was.
I have to admit, when Lisa was sitting and
Oh,
and they're like, is she moving? Is she blinking? Is she moving? I was like, oh my gosh. But yeah,
The Mary Lisa thing was really funny. That whole
it was,
exchange.
this cast is everybody's right and everybody's wrong to me as well, because I understood what Mary was saying
Hmm.
to Lisa. I also, when Lisa said this has come out of left field a little bit, because how did we go directly here? So I got what she was trying. But then when you talk about moving on, and Mary told Lisa, you don't move on, but then Mary brought up the Cameron of it all. It makes it look like you didn't move on. But then also we need to address, because Mary was here for seasons 1, season 2.
Hmm.
Cameron was on. They talked about her church. We knew they were going to try to make that a storyline. Mary leaves, then comes back, and no conversation is had on camera. Her and Lisa should have had a conversation. Her and Whitney should have had a
Hmm.
like, this should have been
Like tied
addressed.
a
So
ribbon on it. Yeah.
yeah, now it's coming out. And then also, and I love Mary down boots, y'all. Hear
Hmm.
me
Me
when I
too.
say I support Mary. I don't think Brittany was totally wrong, because when we're talking about someone of a certain stature, you're called to a higher stature. So, yes, you're in this environment. Yes, you're going to snap. You may tell somebody off. We also know Mary can be brutal with her honesty, and it doesn't have
Hmm.
to be brutal. So I also could see what Brittany was saying. And then she proved Brittany's point when Brittany said, you were telling me I'm not cute and not funny. And she said, I meant it. And I'll say it again. I have to be honest and say, as a pastor, and people can say, well, pastors aren't perfect. I know that. But if your child's teacher cursed at them, you wouldn't say, people aren't perfect. She's just a human. You would say, you're a teacher. You're supposed to be a
Right.
little bit. So with Mary, I go back and forth because I love her honesty. It's refreshing. It's this, but it doesn't have to have a side of brutality with it.
Hmm. Yeah, I think that's really well said. And there was some moment in this reunion where I feel like Andy was asking her a question. I wish I forget the topic, but
I know what you're thinking. I know.
she said something like pretty brutally honest, and he was like, "Oh, I thought that I thought you didn't, I thought you were good with Meredith or whatever it was." And she was like, "Oh, wait, I am." And he was like, "Well, you just said this," and she's like, "Yeah, that's what I think." So it's like she I forget what it was about, but there
That,
was a moment like that.
but you saying that, it just dawned on me. Mary thinks, I think Mary thinks that maybe all people should be like her. Remember when Andy
Yeah.
said, "Did this hurt you? Did that hurt you?" She said, "Yeah, I just take it and put it in the pile of everything else that hurts me." And she can go on from everybody's not like that because I would have to address it.
Right. And I admire that she's like that, but you're
Same.
right that not everybody is like that.
It's like
Absolutely.
that. Yeah.
What do you make of the rest of the women and seemingly maybe Andy being confused by Meredith forgiving Lisa for saying that she slept with half New York in the tirade? Because I think Lisa and Meredith have shown that like they are back to being on good terms, but like it doesn't seem like it's something that everybody else can accept.
Hmm.
What do you think about that?
I saw both sides, but not in a way like I agree with Meredith when she said, "You all say I'm a grudge holder. So when I move on with her, it's an issue." And when Andy started out by saying, "Seeing you together, it's kind of like in my mind, and I marvel at how the two of you could move on." That was a good discussion point
Yes.
because they're acting as if, and what they
Nothing
really want to
happened.
say is, "Y'all aren't friends, y'all are an alliance." That's what they really want to say,
Yes.
but they're not saying it. So, but I liked how Andy, yes, let's acknowledge it. We as the viewers, I know sometimes I see them together and I'm like, I wonder if in the back of Meredith's mind, I don't think she really still fully maybe trust Lisa. Maybe Lisa, because
Right.
Lisa defends Meredith a lot, and maybe that's her way of all continuing to try to atone for what happened. Because I feel like Meredith in the back, I don't think Meredith trusts anybody.
It's like Meredith didn't, as they pointed out in the backstage moment, Meredith didn't defend Lisa when it came to the Instagram account thing. But I think that if I'm Meredith and
Yes.
Lisa, or I think what I would like to see from them instead of them being like, no, we're friends. Like, what are you talking about? Like, we can forgive. And I think that they're entitled to that. What I'd rather see from them is hit it back at, instead of being like, we've all said stuff about things, say something specific about like, well,
Yes.
Heather, what about when you and Whitney did this to each other? Or what about, you know
Yes.
what I mean? Or what about when you and Heather, what about when you and Bronwyn fucking hated each other last
Yes.
year? Like, I think they need to hit back with specifics about how because everybody in this group does this. There's alliances
Yes.
everywhere we look, you know?
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
But also, I will say it was interesting because Mary did have Lisa's back with Meredith. And at first, when I
Mm-hmm.
was watching the season in the beginning, I was like, well, Meredith did say, "Hey, we're not going to talk about this." But I do agree that she didn't defend now that I'm looking back. Because at first, again, I was like, well, she did defend Lisa. But now that I'm looking back overall, she didn't go as hard for Lisa as Lisa did go for her. I can say that. And then even backstage, when they were talking about how we did, and Lisa's like, "How'd I do?" And then Meredith's like, "You did great." And Lisa goes, "What part?" And she goes, "Well, I mean, just
She couldn't say
all of
anything.
it."
Yeah,
And
she
I
couldn't
was
say anything.
like, I wondered if something hit Lisa in her brain then, like, oh,
Maybe.
you know what I
Maybe.
mean? So I
Yeah.
get again, once again, where everybody's right and everybody's wrong.
Me too.
Meredith had a point, but also
Mm-hmm.
we do think about this, but like you said, then you need to hit back. You and Wendy are cousins. I mean, you and Whitney are cousins,
Yeah.
best friends, and yet
You just called her a
this
piece of
happened.
shit. Exactly.
I
um,
forgot it.
yeah. Um, I guess related to that, Heather saying to Meredith, "Our friendship is over," just because Meredith said that Heather screeched at her for 2 months, which, where's the lie?
It's like Heather, it's all the world's a stage, and this is a performance for you. You
Yeah.
think that that's going to be on the shirt at BravoCon in 2027? Our friendship is over. No,
That's
it's not.
hilarious.
And
Yeah.
then for her to threaten her because you threatened her, because what you're letting us know is that you're going to come after her.
And she doubled down. She's like, yeah, it's a threat. Yeah, that was interesting.
Where's HR? Oh, he's sitting in the middle of y'all. Like,
Well,
are you kidding me?
yeah. I mean, I just think that like Heather's been great for the show and she still is in a way. I just think that the other women need to do a better job of checking her. And, you know, I'm not saying there needs to be like a takedown of Heather Gay, but I do think that like she needs to be she sees herself on this really high
Yes.
peg. And sometimes you have to be knocked down a little bit. And so or it's a hard fall sometimes from that and
Yeah.
as we've seen. So I don't know what that looks like. I just think that like if I'm the other women watching this season, I'm like she has a high and mighty vibe
Yes.
about her and
Mary
she
has
thinks she's
always said that.
untouchable.
Yeah, Mary has said
Well, then
she's
Maybe Mary
judgmental.
should lead. Maybe Mary should lead the charge. I don't know.
And say, listen here, mascara wrapped in. Wait, what was it? What did they say on the play? She was laugh jokes
Oh,
wrapped in
right.
mascara or something like
Yes. Oh my
that.
God. Yeah, that was good. That was good.
That was
The
really
Sisters of
good.
Salt.
Yeah.
I saw somebody say online, Taria, because Bronwyn had that moment where she was like, marriages and husbands are supposed to be off limits, but you freak out. She's talking to Meredith, like you pop off whenever we bring it up, even though everybody's husbands get talked about, and I didn't pop off. I'm proud of myself for not popping off, which
That's
is,
you.
which is one, that's her style. But also, I saw somebody say online
Okay.
the
Okay.
difference could be, and I wish I had this person's username because it's a good point. The difference could be, Bronwyn, that like that the stuff about Todd is true.
Oh
You
my God.
know,
So for
you
you to
know.
pop off would make you look like a fool.
Well, yeah, and like also it's correct, and Meredith doesn't
Right.
think any of this stuff is correct about Seth, the stuff that's coming up, so she's going to defend it, and that's how she defends against falsities. I thought that was a pretty good point
I
because
think
we've
that's
seen,
a very good
and
point.
Bronwyn has admitted the stuff about Todd is true. This isn't like
Yes.
but that's the difference there. I think.
I still like Bronwyn.
Me too.
I do think that she tries to play villain and victim in the same sentence, and that is getting a little
That's a
tiring
good
for
way to
me.
put it.
Like, I'm going to have a conversation and ask Whitney questions about Meredith on the plane and listen to Whitney take all that in. And instead of telling Whitney, you should address these with Meredith, what you're then going to do is bring it up and say, don't get me, you had me in the middle, Whitney. And, if you wanted her to know, then you should have said it to her and not to me. You are not the victim now for
Hmm.
repeating that information.
Hmm.
So I do feel like it's like you can't be villain and stand in it at the time. Yeah, I told her because I felt like what y'all were saying was wrong. Sorry.
Yeah. Hmm.
So, do you want
So
them all to come back? I'm sorry. Do you want them all? Or do you think there should be a mix? Do you think Monica
I
should come
would,
back?
I no, I don't think Monica should come back.
Same.
I would, like to see them all come back, but I think it would be beneficial to change some of them down to a friend of. That's
Oh,
sort of what I think is because sometimes that activates something in somebody when they get demoted. Because
yeah,
I really do feel like they all contribute a lot to this show. But I think that some of them are losing the plot a little bit, and we're getting too wrapped up in the weeds of it being a show. And so that's where I think that like you can send a message if you're a Bravo or in
yeah.
production to change their pay and their position a little bit.
That's a good
That's sort of where
point.
I'm at right now. I want to see part 3, but that's sort of I just like I don't think it's broken yet. That's the thing. Like
Okay.
and I think that sometimes you can just add somebody in who's new. Um, but so Andy asked some good questions about the plane. And he asked something stuff
Ooh.
that I've always been asking, which is like, why did nobody switch seats with her? Oh, well, we were already on the descent. And it's like, wait a second, wait. I thought the whole thing was that the entire flight,
So did
Meredith was
I.
going after Brittany. I thought that was the whole story that we're going with.
That's what I
Meredith
thought.
was attacking her from the time they were in the airport, boarding the plane. And that's what, because they were talking about how many movies she watched, Crazy
Yeah.
Rich Asians. Oh, I was asleep. No, Meredith, you're doing it the entire flight. Well, now none of them switched seats with her because it was only on the descent of the flight that it was happening in the back half. So
Yeah.
that the story is
It's
evolving.
changing.
It is
Yes.
evolving. And so I'm glad that that's being asked. I'm glad that we got into some of the specifics of it.
Hmm.
Um, but the conversation takes a big turn. Andy's like, Meredith, like, were you drinking before the flight? And
Ooh.
she's like, I will answer that. But first, I want to get into why my relationship with Brittany was so fractured. And she brings up this whole thing that I did not know about, which was Meredith's old nail technician. It came out that he was anti Semitic and, he was getting all these bad reviews on Yelp or whatever it was. Asked Brittany and Jared to write him a positive review. They do it. Meredith has stopped working with this person. Brittany's positive review reads to Meredith as an endorsement of
Hmm.
this man and him being an anti-Semite. Um, and that's sort of what she brings up as like why she was so sort of gutturally angry at Brittany, and she couldn't. Um, and that sort of explains part of it, I guess, from her perspective. What did you think of that? Because it was such a left turn. It's where we left off the episode with.
Yeah.
Um, yeah.
And then Andy saying, are you saying that that's why she's come after you? And Meredith saying, yes.
Oh, right. Mm-hmm.
I said, far be it for me. I'm a part of a minority group.
Mm-hmm.
So of course, sometimes we feel things that, whether it be racism, homophobia, xenophobia, if we're a part of all these groups, sometimes we feel things that people who are not a part of our group can feel, right? So I
Totally.
say, far be it for me. However, I'm going to be honest. When Meredith never said she did. I don't think Meredith came out and said she used to work with the technician. We got that information from Brittany. So when Brittany was defending herself, I believed her because she said, he reached out to me, said I worked with Meredith Marks. He asked to do my nails and asked me to leave a review. When the information was sent to me, which Meredith did say the information was sent to Brittany, but she made it seem like the information was sent to Brittany and then Brittany wrote the review. She said, when the information was sent to me, I called him. I took it down. Why is it okay for you? You used to work with him. Why is it okay for you not to have known he was an anti-Semite and for me not to have known too? And when I found out, I made it right. I was with her on that. Meredith, you didn't know either because you used to work with him. Once Brittany found out, because I really do believe Brittany. Do I think she acts a lot and cries and all? Yes, I believe her on this. And I thought we are at a time where it is really reckless because she wouldn't outright say she thinks she's anti-Semitic, but you laid the
Implied
groundwork.
it. Yeah, for sure.
You
Yeah.
implied it. And I think if Meredith felt that way, I'm glad she addressed it. I guess my question is, if I thought you, Gibbs, said something that made me so angry,
Mm-hmm.
where we're at, I would reach out to you. Meredith, why did you not reach out to Brittany? You
Well,
waited until you were filming?
it sounds, yeah, I think to me, I think the detail that backs up Meredith feeling this very I think Meredith feels this way.
Got you. Okay.
I I think it was an overstep personally. Again, I'm not Jewish, so I don't know
Right. Exactly.
how
Yeah.
I can feel, but I don't know if I would have gone as far. Meredith did imply that Brittany felt this way, like felt had the same beliefs as this guy, kind of, like that's sort of what the
Yeah.
implication was. I do think the detail of Meredith going to production really
Yes.
early in the season, being like, "Hey, I cannot help how angry I am at Brittany." Because I think maybe Meredith did think that Brittany wrote the review after she got the information. Brittany
Got
said
you.
he was like
Okay.
right professor. So I think
Yeah.
that this is just how I read it
That
initially.
makes sense. Yeah.
And so I think that her bringing it to production and being like, it's not going to make sense to the viewer why I am so angry
Mm.
at Brittany still. So like, what do we do?
Yeah.
Something about that it makes me feel like Meredith herself actually feels this way,
Feels that way. I
even though
got
it's
you.
clearly a diversion in the conversation at the reunion to like
Yes.
we're taking a very sharp left turn into this conversation,
Yes.
and it was pretty obvious. And even though I do think that she should have maybe been more careful in terms of what she was implying about Brittany herself versus the nail
Hmm.
technician. And again, that doesn't mean that we all think that this went down the way that Meredith said it went down, but
Right.
I kind of
Right.
think that this is. I don't. I think that Meredith does believe that this is how it all went down.
How it went down.
You
Yes.
know,
Okay.
like
Yes.
that's.
I get what
I
you're
don't know if I'm
saying.
explaining it
No,
correctly,
no,
but
no. So her feelings, Meredith is not putting on you. Her feelings are authentic to,
right. And I think it's
yes.
coming out at a time, at a convenient time in the conversation,
Yes.
and
Okay.
but I think that also Brittany's side of it made her explanation of the series of events also made sense to me.
Yes. Yes.
You
Yes.
know,
Yes. I get it.
so
And
I
that's
just
kind of
it's
hard.
never fun when it's never fun when it goes to this place. You
No,
know,
because you can't prove unless Brittany wrote something, you can't see what's in a person's heart only by their
exactly
actions. So this
right.
is, but so you're right. I agree with that. I do think Meredith felt that, and I think it was
Genuine
good that she
emotion.
went to
Yeah,
production. It would have been nice to
see it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Because what we're seeing is the reverberations of
exactly.
this sound, but we're not seeing the sound.
Right, right,
Like
right. Did she say what because they talked about they met with production
yes.
and Brittany said that she coddled Meredith in her arms and
Yes,
Meredith
yes.
was like, that's not how it went down. But did they say what the
The resolution was, I don't
resolution
think we
was?
got that. I
Yeah, I
hope
don't
they
think we
tell
got
us.
that. Um,
Yes.
but it's, I think that's kind of a theme for this reunion so far. Like, I feel like we're talking about a lot of things, but we're not really getting we're not getting clear answers or resolution
Yeah.
on a lot of things.
Do you find that with Salt Lake a lot with their reunions?
Yes,
Yeah.
I think that Salt Lake has amazing seasons, and usually those reunions don't. Whether it's because there's so much that goes on that it's like impossible to address it all, or
Hmm.
that they just leave it all out on the table
Yeah.
at the season, or like they need to start ending with a finale wrap party instead of the vacations. I don't know what it is, but the reunions very rarely, if ever, have lived up to the level of a season, I think.
Yeah. And I wanted to touch on something you said before, as far as maybe downgrading some of the women because they've
Hmm.
lost the plot, the show. For me, that's Whitney. And I always go back to the
Hmm.
Real Housewives Ultimate Girls Trip with her and Heather. Everybody, all the women woke up the next morning for breakfast. Candace, Giselle, I think, was Portia there? I think Portia was,
Yes, Portia.
Portia.
Or she was on the trip. Yeah.
Yes. And so they were talking, and Heather brought up something that Whitney did. And Whitney said, "We're filming a TV show, girl." And that always stuck with me and let me know, oh, okay. So whatever it takes, she's going to do, whether it's real or not. Like you literally just said that on Ultimate Girls Trip. And I was like, oh,
Interesting.
okay. Which makes me wonder, because that, even though I wasn't really a Heather fan, but after that, I was like, Heather kind of changed a little bit. And it makes me think she adapted Whitney's mindset in that
Mm.
moment. Like,
Oh,
oh,
interesting. Okay.
okay. Yeah.
Okay.
So
That's a good
Whitney
pull.
could be one that could go for me.
Yeah, and I think that you're watching that show and you see the Winter Olympics logo pop up over your head. It might be a subliminal message. I don't know.
I would be pissed. I'm sorry. If that were
That was
me
that
and I
was
was
that was crazy. That was like directly on her
on
head.
her face. Yes.
Oh my
Yes.
God.
Yes.
Uh, well, Taria, I'm sorry to keep you long, but I feel like we had a
No,
lot to talk about
I feel
today.
like I kept you long. I was like, oh
No,
my God,
no,
no.
we got into it all, and this is
Yes.
fantastic. I think people will really enjoy this, and so I appreciate your
Yes.
extra
I
time
hope
today.
so.
Taria, when and where can people listen to what else is going on? Because again, and plug all the things because you guys, Taria goes to these hearings and she gets first person reporting on the ground, and it's extremely helpful for all of us who are stuck at home. So, plug all the things before we sign off.
Okay. I try to be like my sister in Atlanta, Portia, a journalist. Okay. No.
Period.
Anyway, I do want to thank you so much for having me. I don't take it lightly when people have me on their platforms. Our platforms are our babies, and we handle them with care. So
Hmm.
I'm thrilled that you had me. Come on.
I'm
You
always
guys can
happy to have
find
you.
me. Thank you. And Gibson will be back on What Else Is Going On podcast, which is WeGo. So if you see WEIGO podcast, that stands for What Else Is Going On. I got that from Cynthia Bailey because whenever Cynthia didn't want to discuss something, she would say, "Now, what else is going on?" in her confessionals
So
or when
good.
she was talking to the girls. You can find me Instagram, Twitter, Blue Sky.
Threads.
I forget about Blue Sky Threads at WeGo Podcast. And on TikTok, I'm WeGo Podcast One. Normally, I'm scrolling and liking my people's posts. I haven't got to ticking and talking yet. I'm trying, but it's just a lot. I'm gonna
It's a
get there,
lot.
people.
It's a lot.
It's a lot. I'm trying to create content, and then you can find me on YouTube, WeGo Podcast, where I talk about the shows. I have different people come on. I like to talk about other pop culture too. So yes, come visit me. Audience, thank you so much for listening.
Thank you so much for being here, being generous with your time, and we'll do this again very soon, as
Yes.
always. I want to gab.